Hi, welcome back to the channel. It's Mark from Powersonic. Just on a job this morning that we often all find ourselves faced with. It's troubleshooting on an existing installation. So it's not all wiring consumer units, distribution boards, dragging cable in and playing with containment. Often it's a case of a customer's getting in touch because they can't get the heating to work, or there's some random tripping or something of that sort. And in this case it's to do with the heating. It's a customer who's contacted me over the weekend to explain that they haven't been able to control their Nest thermostat via the app. This is a holiday home, so they often are trying to adjust the temperature after other people have visited and maybe not left it quite how it should be, and it was peace of mind for them to be able to see what the boiler was doing while they weren't here. They live 50, 60 miles away. So after trying to support them a little bit over the phone, we got to the stage where it just wasn't happening, and it was easier to come here in person and see what the score is. It appears that at some stage there's been a merge between the customer's Nest account and the Google account, and in doing that process the thermostat itself has been deleted. So it's quite an easy one to get rectified. It was just a case of resetting the Nest thermostat itself and then reassociating that back with the customer's Google account, and then talking them through on the phone, logging back into that Google account, not their actual Nest email account and password, that we was able to get it back working correctly. I think that the customer had a play around themselves and not been successful, and perhaps made things a little bit worse than they otherwise would have been. But it's quite an easy fix, took half an hour. We're all back working now, boiler's powered up, and I thought I'd give you a quick run around. So it's always nice to come back and see these jobs. So we've got the Nest thermostat, the Nest hub here, connected into the boiler, and that's all now working correctly. We've a little wander around. The customers been fiddling around with the thermostat themselves. Now we've got them all signed in and working. So I've taken it off its wall mount and put it on my stand here. So you can see they've now set it to 17. When I was first here, first thing I did was to just control it via the thermostat to make sure that it was actually functioning as a thermostat, so without any of the smart controls, just to make sure the temperature was going up and down, boiler was firing, everything was fine, and it even showed that it was connected to the internet. It had an IP address, so it obviously was to do with some client setup issue. So I mean, that's the first thing that I would always advise anyone coming out on any kind of fault, is to just try and start at the basics, make sure that things are switching as they should. So if you're coming out on an RCD fault, for example, don't just start diving in, stripping everything off the wall. Do the basics, so unplug things, turn things off, and run through the user checks that you would ask homeowners and clients to do, because often they miss things. They're not electricians, so they don't see how you have to physically take all of the plugs out of the wall, because I usually have double pole sockets installed in domestic properties, certainly. And then making sure that, like, if your spares are turned off, you will usually come across the problem doing that, rather than stripping a whole place apart. If you just start piling in, taking socket fronts off or dropping light fittings down, you can end up wasting your time. And in this case, it would have been very easy to start fiddling around with wires and messing about with stuff, because the customer's just saying the heating's not working, rather than starting with the simple things and building back out there. So yeah, it was an easy one to get sorted. And I just thought I'd drop a little video up, which isn't so much installation work, but it's something that we're all going to come across on a regular basis, and it's dealing with clients in that way that they value that support. So obviously I've come out to site at relatively short notice because they were quite nervous about leaving the property with the boiler running non-stop, because they've had people in and out who they're not familiar with. And just coming here this morning and doing that quick half an hour work leads to great client relationships. So we've been using our CRM software to give regular updates to that client. I've spoken to them in person on the phone today, and that's a good client relationship. They've got other properties as well that we look after, and I spoke to the lady who's insisting on having us in to do some work in a house in the coming weeks through lockdown take 2, just off the back of this kind of support. So yeah, I thought I'd just drop in and mention that, and I hope everybody's keeping safe and well as we enter lockdown stage 2. We've already had a couple of big jobs postponed on us again, I think it'll probably be a common theme as we move along. Fortunately, some of the domestic customers have all been in touch and said, you know, we still want to go ahead, we still want you in, come and get this work done for us. But definitely from a commercial and retail point of view, they've just said, look, we're not allowed to open, so we're going to have to pause anything that's not emergency. And you can understand it, people are looking after the cash flow. They don't know quite what the future's going to hold, if we're going to be shut for weeks or months. Who knows? So you can totally see that point of view, but as a planning thing for a small business owner like myself, we do a lot of work into retail and fast food premises and shared service office spaces. It's not ideal, but you know, it's unavoidable. You can't moan about it too much. You've just got to play the hand that's been dealt to you and get on with it. Unfortunately, we do knock around in the domestic market as well, so we've got quite a strong network of domestic customers, and they all seem pretty keen to press ahead. Likewise with rentals that are out there and the EICRs that still need doing. So, you know, we should be okay. But yeah, it's just a bit of a worry, isn't it? And I think we all saw with the first lockdown how stuff did just sort of grind to a halt. Certainly with payments, we were waiting months and months from some of our contractors that we subcontract to pay up. And while you can understand the position that they haven't been paid by the end client, it's still, you know, it's not an ideal place to be. So since that point, we've been much better in looking after our debtors, if you like, and we're in a much stronger position because of that now as we enter stage 2. So yeah, just a little business discussion there on top of the Nest thermostat. If anybody is messing around with Nest thermostats, there was a merge of accounts that Google did, and there's been a few problems flag up in the process of doing that between the Nest account and the Google account. We've had 1 or 2 clients who've just run into trouble. And they're not all tech savvy with smartphones. I was going to say it's due to age, but that's ageist. It's not always the case. Some people just aren't familiar with technology and don't like it to the point of having to set it up correctly. So they often need a bit of expert support and help. And yeah, we was happy to do that in this instance. One of the other things I can show you while we are here, it's a lovely property in itself. It's this way. So this actually used to be an old coach house where they had horses in, believe it or not. And this is what this particular room was till the builders converted it. So this was a stable, and it's now been knocked into the house. It's a lovely space. So yeah, that was that one. Take care of yourself, and drop a comment in on this video. I'll be trying to do a few more things in the coming weeks. We've got a few installation works going on that I want to get on film. So we're doing an old hotel conversion into apartments. There's jobs still running over in Scarborough for another apartment complex, and we'll get some footage at both of those places over the next couple of weeks, and I'll drop it onto YouTube. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. See you on the next one.